G'day, it's Jamie, and welcome to Tantanoola Tigers. Today, I'm reading an old newspaper report about a Bengal tiger attack at Watson's Bay, Sydney, New South Wales, in 1861. So we'll get into it. This was published in Sydney's Empire on Thursday, the 3rd of January, 1861, titled The Tiger Accident at Watson's Bay. We are indebted to the courtesy of Mr. Billing, proprietor of the menagerie at Watson's Bay, for the following additional particulars relative to the tiger accident at that place on New Year's Day. It appears that about 7 o'clock in the evening, the keeper, John West, an old man, some 53 years of age, was in the menagerie together with about a dozen visitors, amongst whom was a female, an acquaintance of West's. Some short time previously, Mr. Billing had concluded his performance with the lions and had left West in charge of the menagerie, for the purpose of explaining to the visitors the habits and characteristics of the different animals. West, whilst discharging this particular function, seemed anxious to show the spectators that he could do as much or more than Mr. Billing with the lions and tiger. The foolhardy man, who appears to have been under the influence of liquor, took upon himself, contrary to special instructions from his employer, to enter the lion's den. These animals, being very tame, did not offer to molest him. Emboldened apparently by this immunity from harm, West, on leaving the lion's den, offered, if a number of sixpence were collected for him, to enter the tiger's den. Fortunately, his desire was not complied with. If it had been, the chances are he would have been torn limb from limb, or in his effort to escape, would have let the tiger out of the den. There being no disposition on the part of the visitors to encourage West in his rash attempt, he proceeded to the front of the tiger's den and began to explain the animal's peculiarities. He then patted the tiger on the nose, and the female to whom he had previously referred asked him if she could do the same thing, to which he replied yes, and at the same time, thrusting his arm between the bars, commenced stroking the tiger on the head and pulling his ear. The animal instantly seized him by the arm, breaking the bone either at or a little above the elbow, and lacerating the member in a horrible manner. The first words escaped from the unfortunate man were, "Hold me, hold me." Some gentlemen present immediately caught West behind, and then commenced a struggle for life, the tiger holding the mangled limb in his mouth, and the party at the keeper's back trying to drag him away from the fatal grip of the tiger. Fortunately, the bone being fractured, the struggle was short, and the tiger remained in possession of one part of the arm, whilst the gentleman who had hold of the keeper succeeded in dragging him away. Mr. Billing's attention attracted by the shouts of the spectators, he immediately rushed down to the menagerie, and there he found the keeper holding the stump of his arm, which was bleeding profusely, the unfortunate man being apparently paralysed with fear. Mr. Billing immediately took the broken member from the cage, the tiger having previously dropped it on the floor, and walked round it several times. Mr. Billing assures us that the tiger, when spoken to by him, was as traceable as if nothing had occurred, and actually stood on the side while he was removing the arm from the den. An attempt having been made to stop the hemorrhage, which was extensive, West was immediately conveyed to the Sydney Infirmary by Mr. Dolby of George Street, who happened to have a vehicle in readiness. The arm was then placed into the custody of Mr. G.B. Kelly and conveyed to the infirmary yesterday forenoon by Mr. Billing. West, who has seen some hard service in this colony, appears to be a man of iron nerve. When being conveyed to the dissecting room yesterday, he remarked to Mr. Billing, "I am going to be cooked now, I suppose." This tiger is so ferocious and untamable that Mr. Billing himself would not dare to make free with him. Some 5 years ago, when Mr. Billing was exhibiting his menagerie at Ballarat, this same tiger seized the arm of a foolhardy man named Edward Knight and injured it so severely that although it was not destroyed there and then, it subsequently withered away. The end. Okay, so this final story was published in the Sydney Morning Herald on Wednesday the 23rd of January 1861, titled "The Late Accident at Watson's Bay." We regret to state the man, John West, who had his arm bitten off by the tiger at Mr. Billing's menagerie at Watson's Bay on New Year's Day, died in the infirmary from the effects yesterday morning. An inquest on his body will be held in the coroner's office this morning. The end. Wow, this is crazy and insane, this. I feel sorry for Mr. West who died. But, this is Henry Billings' tiger, and this same tiger, in 1856, was at the George Hotel being exhibited, and the guy put his hands inside the cage and got mauled. And, where was the keeper or Mr. Billing at that time? And then he's moved on from Ballarat, he's moved to Burke Street in Melbourne, near Chinatown, and this is in 1859. And this same tiger, he somehow let the tiger out of the cage. He tried to secure the cage the day before, he said, and it got out. And he blamed two of his keepers for it at the time instead of him for changing the cage. And it attacked a Chinaman and created havoc, and nearly killed the Chinese guy. And he had to go to court over that. And he went to court, and they let him off with nothing. I couldn't believe that. They let him off with nothing. Didn't have to put the tiger down or pay any fines or anything like that. It was only a Chinaman that got attacked. Nothing to see here. And so then the Chinese guy was going to sue him, and so he packed up and he moved to Sydney, where he's exhibiting now at Watson's Bay. And so in 1859. The Marine Hotel, which is Dunbar House, was leased by Henry Billings, and he sets up charter ferries on holidays for Sydney, people from Sydney to come to Watson's Bay for a holiday. And he added a number of attractions, including a ballroom, and it was part on the pier. He had a menagerie of animals, and he had bands and entertainment for hotel guests, and it was quite popular. And when he was doing he'd only go in the lion cage. He wouldn't go in the tiger cage. He'd only go in the lion's cage, and he'd do performances with them and put his head inside the lion's mouth because it was really tame. And then he bought, to fill his menagerie up at the time also, he bought all the leftovers from Baymont Zoo at Botany Bay and took all their animals as well. That's where he got the lions from. And then it was really popular, but he was going to be sued after this John West incident. He was going to be sued, and there was a big inquest about it and all that, and he got off and was cleared of all charges and all responsibility, even though he was going to be sued and all that, and that never happened. He died shortly after this, and his widow tried to sell all the animals to the newly established Taronga Zoo, and they didn't want to buy her animals at all. And then she's said to have poisoned all the animals, which is tragic. But about this attack, the third attack, how did we get here? How come Billings has never been charged or, this tiger put down? It's crazy. And so he's hired John West to be his keeper and all that. And John West has been on the drink by the sound of it. And he's got a girlfriend there that he's trying to impress, and also make some money off the other people at the end of the show, like what he can do and all that. And he reckons he was better than Billing, and I can do this, I can do that. So he goes in the lion's cage, which were docile, and it's like, that's easy as. But he didn't realise that Billings wouldn't go in the tiger cage that much. And so he was going to go in the tiger cage, but he couldn't raise the money. And so then he decided to show off to the woman by putting his arm in the cage and patting it. And she said, "Can I do it?" And he said, "Yeah." And thank God she didn't get close to the cage as well. And then as he's pulled its ear, it's grabbed hold of him and he's lost his arm and eventually died. It's just a tragic pity, and I can't believe that we've gotten this far with Mr. Billing being allowed to keep this tiger after all these incidents. And just the last word will be alcohol and Bengal tigers do not mix. Okay, that's it from me. I'll see you later. Bye.